In a complete change in tone and content from my last video, let's talk about Balatro. Released in early 2024, Balatro is a roguelike deck building poker game where you play poker hands to score enough points to clear blinds, with the goal of clearing 24 blinds or 8 antes. And now for the game to start going completely insane, because there are no limits during a run. You can buy booster packs that give you more copies of each card, meaning in theory you can have a poker deck with 310 of diamonds. It is, and I cannot stress this enough, the best roguelike I have ever played. Before getting into why I love this game, let's talk about the mysterious entity behind Balatro, a Canadian by the name of Local Funk. Very little is known about Local Funk, other than they are Canadian, the sole developer and artist of Balatro, and they mostly play online competitive games? So how did they come out with the biggest indie game of the year? Seemingly it was a lot of luck and competency. Originally they were making a multiplayer game based on a card game I haven't heard of, but then after seeing roguelike deck builders on Steam and watching a random Northern Lion stream, changed the game to be a roguelike deck builder with the main gimmick being poker. According to an interview with Game Rant, at least I think the interview is with them, they don't credit anyone else as doing the interview. Local Thunk quit their day job to finish Balatro roughly a year before the game was released, with the idea of putting it on their resume to get another job later. The game has since sold 3.5 million copies as of early December. If they are smart with money, they probably don't need to worry about that resume anymore. Let's now talk about the actual game itself. Before even starting a run, you get to pick a deck type, which comes with a different bonus, which can range from extra discards and hands to more money to finding more special cards. Basically, instead of picking a character like in other games, the deck is your character, and it will get insane by the end of a run. I'm not going to talk too much about how the game itself plays, just because that's not what my interest is. I'm not a fan of poker. My interest is the cards themselves. We'll start by talking about the playing cards. You start with a normal 52 card deck, but when you get to the store, the fun really begins. Using some special cards we will get to in a moment, you can upgrade cards, or purchase already upgraded ones by opening booster packs. These upgrades range from giving boosts to your chips gained and small multiplier increases, all the way to giving you money if it is in your hand at the end of the blind, to insane multipliers. That's right, your multiplier can be multiplied by simply putting steel on your 2 of hearts. But why stop there? If everything is made of steel, then everything will multiply with each other. But we can keep going, thanks to the next card type, Jokers. Jokers are where the chaos really begins. Each Joker has an effect, with the most basic being +1 discard, with others just taking things to insane heights. I mentioned steel in the previous section, so how about the Steel Joker, which gains 0.2 times multiplier based on all steel cards you own, with it counting itself. Or how about the Baseball card, which makes all uncommon Jokers give 1.2 times multiplier. Or how about a Joker that is designed to be replaced when you get better ones, like Joker Stencil, that gives 1 times multiplier for every empty Joker slot. Obviously you won't carry that until the end, but it helps in the early game get through some blinds while looking for better Jokers. There are Jokers that give chips for simply playing hands that contain various hand types, which if you have the 1 for pair, it will trigger under 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 2 pair, etc. Or Scary Face, which gives free chips for every face card you play, triggering for every card you play. Meaning, if you play 4 kings, congratulations, you just got 120 free chips. Or you can pair Scary Face with Pareidolia, which makes every card a face card. Thanks to that combination, every card just gives 30 more chips. Throw in a business card and have a 50% chance to get free money every time you play any face card. And since all of your cards are face cards, free money. And throw in a smiley face, which gives them plus 5 malt. Speaking of malt, how about Fortune Teller, which gives you plus 1 malt based on your usage of our next card type, the Tarot cards? Do you currently have a straight with 2 clubs and 3 other not matching cards? Why not change those 3 cards into clubs using the moon? Want up to $20? There is an old man who is willing to help. Want to theoretically go infinite? The Emperor gives you 2 random tarot cards, which, unless someone has information I am missing, means it can in theory give itself infinitely alongside, say, the Hermit for infinite money, Wheel of Fortune to potentially upgrade your jokers, or Judgment to make jokers. Or how about cards like the Chariot, which specifically interact with your playing cards by giving them special bonuses. We've already mentioned steel, but how about you make that Ace of Spades into glass, making it double your multiplier with a 25% chance of destroying itself at the end of turn. Or maybe give it a bonus, which makes it give 30 chips as well as the base amount of that card. The final tarot card I'm going to talk about is the Tower. The Tower turns one of your cards into a stone. Stones have no rank, no suit, and can't be used in any combo. However, they always score and are worth 50 points. If you have a 2 pair, you can also play a stone for 50 extra chips. There is also a joker that adds stones to the deck, which combos nicely with a joker that gives you multiplier when cards are added to the deck. It's kind of funny that in poker, apparently just throwing rocks at the table isn't a bad idea. I need to derail this for a second because this is just insane. Imagine getting some friends together to play poker, and you pull out a deck with 400 cards. A bunch of them are made of steel, some are glass, some have stickers on them, and 300 of them are just rocks. And then off to the side you have a full tarot deck. You are going to look insane. And that is why I love Balatro. The planet cards aren't too interesting, despite being just as, if not slightly more important than the tarot cards. They just increase the multiplier and chips for each possible hand. It's just a regular buff, nothing too insane. There are jokers that care about them and a tarot that gives you 2 random ones, but otherwise not too important to discuss in detail. I'm also going to be skipping spectral cards and tags, simply because I haven't used them anywhere near enough to know if they are actually worth going for. I'll let you look into them and determine what is good and what isn't. Maybe I'll play a lot more and put a comment with ones that I like. Or maybe I won't, brother. That just leaves vouchers, which are a lot more passive than everything else mentioned so far. You only purchase 1 voucher per ante, except under a specific set of circumstances, and they provide permanent buffs. Some of the buffs are just cheaper prices in the store. The special card types I've already mentioned having increased chances of appearing, and the blank voucher, which does nothing. But it doesn't stop there, because after completing some challenges, you unlock buffs for the vouchers. For example, if you manage to claim 10 vouchers in a single run, clearance sale, which makes things 25% cheaper, in later runs can be buffed into liquidation, doubling the discount to 50%. Or, if you buy blank voucher 10 times in total, it can be upgraded into antimatter, which gives a bonus joker slot. Even though vouchers are in the background for the most part, they directly impact everything else you are doing. More cheaper cards means more insane decks, more jokers means more insanity that can happen, a bigger hand size means more options per turn. I think you get the point. Vouchers good. Something that Balatro does that a lot of other similar roguelikes fail at is making the insane overpowered setups not only really easy to get going, but also fun. Every run that clears Ante-8 likely has something really stupid going on that allowed it to even get that far. And that is the magic of Balatro. It is a game that doesn't restrict the player, but instead actively dares them to keep going. Local Thunk has by sheer talent made a perfect roguelike. Calling it now, Balatro will end up similar to Vampire Survivors, a game that innovated and ultimately causes a lot of copycats to appear, none of which are as good as the original. Indie gaming since the COVID-19 pandemic has been doing surprisingly well, while big releases from AAA studios have been failing time and time again. Only a few weeks after Balatro's release, a new Alone in the Dark game came out, and then 3 months later, the studio that made it shut down due to Embracer Group being disappointed in the sales numbers. This is foreshadowing, not for this video obviously, but a future full series. I'm not kidding. I am planning a full series of videos covering Embracer Group and their subsidiaries. This wasn't even part of this video until I looked up games that came out around the same time as Balatro to prove a point, before noticing that February 2024 was actually a fairly strong month for big releases. Balatro won Indie Game of the Year and was nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Now, anybody that takes awards shows seriously is an idiot. Yes, that includes you, Black Myth Wukong fan, who is crying that it should have won despite being the worst reviewed Game of the Year nominee ever, according to Metacritic. Balatro being nominated for Game of the Year is a big deal. Because not only is it an indie game in a genre that normally isn't too mainstream, but it was made by literally a single person. Team Asobi, who won with Astrobot, has 65 employees. From Software, who was nominated this year and has won Game of the Year twice, has over 400. A game made by one person was deemed as good as, and in many cases better than, games made by massive dev teams. This is a big deal. A game with a relatively small budget and basically nobody working on it has performed better than many AAA releases. I'm hopeful this is a wake-up call to various companies that games don't always need to be ultra high definition games with 500 million game mechanics that don't interact. Instead can be a lot simpler. But that isn't the world we live in. We live in a world where AAA games will continue to sell insane amounts of copies despite everyone hating the games. Most of the best-selling games of 2024 were AAA, with Helldivers 2 being an exception but was published by Sony, so it probably shouldn't count. This might become a recurring series, talking about roguelikes and why they do or don't work. There are so many in the genre, and so many of them try to sit somewhere in the middle of Balatro and Darkest Dungeon, but fail at what makes those games unique. Creating a lot of roguelikes that just sort of blend together and refuse to try anything different. Anyway, go and pre-order Monster Energy Supercross, the official game 25, and fuck off.